One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
FYI, before we started, I am being haunted in my house. And it is one of the most interesting and not good hauntings, Jason. I opened my spice cupboard and I was moving stuff around, and my bottle of chili powder was warm to the touch. No other spices warm to the touch. Like, what and why? Does anybody
Also, how?
Do you need an HVAC person out?
see? If that was the case, the other spices would also be warm, would they not?
I don't know.
I'm telling you, there's only one explanation. It's ghosts.
Did Jason super love chili powder?
No, that's why it doesn't make any sense, because
Does he love it posthumously?
apparently. Yeah, I think that's what it's got to be. Hello, friend. Do you want to tell us who you are?
Hello, I am Julia Robinson. I'm sitting in the old house I lived in with my still beloved dead husband, widow of 14 months, IT professional in Philadelphia, which has been an ICE prison.
Ugh.
I had a loaner car because mine was in the shop and it got stuck in an ice bank and had to be towed, which is a thing that can happen.
It's so crazy because we have had no snow, like no snow at all this year, and everybody else is being iced in. It's
In Utah, the skiing capital.
Oh, it's wildly depressing here. Every single time I go out, it's dark and just Elliott Smith songs start playing in my head involuntarily.
And you mentioned you hadn't even gotten your mail in days. Is it because they're not delivering it?
Or they're doing it when they feel like it, or they don't want to get a concussion delivering the mail.
That's serious, because I feel like, isn't there a whole song about that? The mail must go through.
Yeah, the mail is supposed to go on no matter what.
Yeah.
No, I love this city, but we do not always have necessarily all of the public services you might like to have in a city. I took a road trip this summer and there was a municipal workers' strike, and the last thing I did before hitting the road was illegally dump all of my garbage in a dumpster on the outskirts of town because I had no assurance it would be picked up.
So are you from Philly originally?
I am from southern New Jersey. I'm not going to lie and say I was born here. What is
Okay.
it, born and bred? I don't understand the bred part. I am not a
Wait, shouldn't it be
horse.
bred and born?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born here, taken back over the river to New Jersey, and returned as soon as I was able.
Oh. So do you prefer Philly over New Jersey? It sounds like maybe.
New Jersey has a lot to offer. I do prefer Philly over almost anywhere. It is my beautiful trash city, and I love it.
Do you know Abbott Elementary and Melissa Chimenti?
Almost everyone from here has run into someone's on like that at a family function. I don't know if you know the SNL skit Murder Dirter. That is based on Mayor of Easttown, which is based on people in Delaware County. And Terry and I loved watching it because everyone here can do a Delco accent just completely derisively.
People from Philadelphia have the weirdest accents, and I can't do them. But my in-laws are all from Philadelphia, and they say things, and I'm just like, you said that weird, and I can't repeat it, but
I think I largely avoided the accent. Occasionally I'll be like, oh no, that vowel is going nowhere.
Also sometimes I just wonder if it's not an accent and they just say words incorrectly or weird. Accent or speech
There's
impediments.
also like Pennsylvania Dutch. My friend's dad has a Pennsylvania Dutch accent, and sometimes we're like, "What are you saying?"
Everyone from here is forced to go there on a school trip to admire farmland and learn how soft pretzels are made.
What about Scrapple? We've talked about Scrapple before. Are you pro Scrapple or are you anti Scrapple?
I'm not a big meat eater. I used to have a job where I worked night shift, and in the morning of our birthday, a work friend and I would go out and get birthday scrapple. But that
Oh,
that was some time ago.
Hmm.
yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Okay. I feel like I feel like we've covered all the bases now.
Sports teams ambivalent, gritty, pro. The bell stupid, done.
The bell.
There are so many better things that the city has to offer than the dumbass bell, and parking is hard there.
Okay. I've been to the bell, so I feel like maybe I wasted my time, but it's okay. I feel like you have to, though. Don't you have to?
One time.
A friend did visit and want to see the bell, so we sort of drove slowly past the bell and we're like, let's go someplace better now.
Okay, so if somebody goes to Philly, they've already seen the bell and done their duty. What would you recommend?
My favorite thing near my house is Graffiti Park or Graffiti Pier, which is an unofficial park, not sanctioned by the city, which is a former concrete pier, like shipping pier, that no longer is accepting freight, but has been taken over by giant graffiti murals, just huge concrete pillars. There are unofficial metal concerts out there. There are teens getting high. I buried my cat out there when he died.
What? Runs the whole gamut.
Is there a skate park there? Because that seems appropriate too.
I am sure kids have done it. It's unwise. Reading Terminal Market is great. It's an indoor farmers market. You can walk up the parkway and just there are museums and trees on every side, and you end at the art museum. It's lovely.
Wow. Okay, we gotta go, Mel. You can skateboard and hopefully you don't trip on somebody's buried dead cat.
Yeah, but I
And
could lay flowers at the grave.
yes,
He was a
well,
good boy.
What was your cat's name?
Jason Statham, which was real fun when we got him from the vet, and they were like, Jason Statham is here for his neuter.
I am thrown off by that one in a good way.
They just rode with it.
That's so funny. Okay, Julia, tell us about Terry. Who is he? How did you find him? Tell us about him.
I meant to bring an urn so I could sort of like hold it up,
Like,
and I forgot.
really introduce us.
Yeah, I forgot all of my urns at home. I went a little urn crazy and have probably 10.
Did you split him up in the different 10 urns? Or do you just transfer all of it?
So the funeral home did all of the primary urns. That is one of the jobs they do is if you order an urn from them, they will pack the urn with your loved one. I got some secondary necklace urns on Etsy and I had to do that myself.
What's a necklace urn? Like a little
Go-
baby jar?
Yeah, like a little pendant that you wear around your neck and you scoop some cremains into it.
Do
I
you
got
have
a
to use like
s-
a funnel?
I Okay, I'm gonna launch right into it.
Okay, do it.
I did not want to lose any of him any more than I had to in giving secondary urns to family members and friends. So I got a sheet of rice paper like you would make a spring roll with and misted it with water and did the transferring of cremains over it and then ate the little paper.
You ate Terry's dust.
I have a couple times. We were a very neurodivergent household, still are whenever I'm here. Um, And whenever there was a new diet Monster energy drink flavor, it was like a national holiday. It is the drink of our people.
What is your current favorite flavor?
Whatever's on sale, there was a yellow one that I loved that is only available in South Korea.
What?
Whoa, how did you get it?
I didn't. When life is more calm, I may go there for just that reason.
I love to have like a reason to visit places that's so niche and weird. That's like one of my favorite things. So,
Hmm.
It's like I know you have these beautiful pieces of cultural heritage. I want
yeah.
my energy drink.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Okay.
Um, so
Now,
when it,
now you have to tell us about Terry. After we've learned that you have eaten him sometimes, his
yes,
ashes.
whenever there is a new diet monster, I will, as he is unable to consume one in his current form, I will take a little pinch of him and be like, okay, honey, we're gonna try this together.
Did Terry grow up in Philly or in
Terry
Pennsylvania?
grew up in the suburbs, and the best, I was trying to think of how to describe him, and a friend of mine, when we first started dating, said, dude, you know that he's the most idiosyncratic man in the world, right? I was like, yeah. And then for the entire first year after we were married, I got introduced to his endless series of friends, just dozens and dozens and dozens of friends. And every single one was amazingly surprised that Terry had a wife. Uh,
Like you were a
extre
secret or
no, just that they hadn't expected someone that profoundly, wonderfully weird to get married.
yeah.
It's not that he was undesirable marriage material. It's just he was so very unique that I don't think anyone had an image in their head of what Terry's wife would look like. He was huge. He was 6'1", 6'2", 350 pounds. On multiple occasions, someone didn't know he was visiting and mistook him for wildlife having broken into the home. He was the most extroverted man in the entire world. His funeral had close to 400 people, so we had to hold it at a scout reservation because you cannot park 400 people at a venue in Philadelphia.
How did you guys find each other? You thought he was wildlife breaking into your house and you got married.
Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast,
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes! Thanks, guys! Back to our regularly scheduled program.
I would be so excited if wildlife broke into my home. I had just had a breakup of a 9-year relationship where I was not married. It was right before the 2016 election. So just everything in my life was kind of a long, protracted scream for a while. Moved back to the city with my kid. I have one kid, Avery. They're non-binary. They're a they them causing mayhem.
It should be on a shirt. It probably is, right? Someone's.
I bet you a full third of Etsy is that phrase.
That makes sense. Yep. Yep.
So moved back to the city with Avery, was kind of licking my wounds from the breakup. It was quite acrimonious. Finally started dating again, was kind of unenthusiastic about the prospects. didn't know how to break up with people and was real graceless about doing that a few times. And then I saw this one profile on OkCupid, and I'm not a woo-woo person. I was raised by one staunch, annoying atheist and one kind of wishy-washy spiritual mom who gave us one Hanukkah present every year, and that was our Jewish education. But when I saw Terry's profile, I was just struck like, this one, I want this one. And I just read it like it was the Torah. It's not like it was going to like win a Pulitzer or anything. It was a normal dating profile. I thought he was cute, but he was not Gail Garcia Bernal. Um,
I don't even know who that is.
he's a remarkably hot actor. Something about his profile. I have a text message I sent to my friend that I want this one to be my boyfriend. We met at a vegan cocktail bar downtown, even though neither of us were vegans. It was just stylish.
Wait, what is a vegan cocktail bar?
All cocktails, for the most part, apart from novelty ones with bacon, are kind of vegan to begin with, but the little bites you could buy were vegan.
Okay.
Ah,
It's still there. It's called Charlie Was a Sinner. I don't think I could go in without sobbing. So he said I went from making no eye contact to making intense, bore a hole through you eye contact. And I was 37, 38. He was 2.5 years younger than me. He said I wasn't robbing the cradle. He was robbing the Craftmatic adjustable bed.
the Tempur-Pedic. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Like,
Was
thanks,
he
bud.
smitten with you immediately?
Not immediately. I had been married before. I got married when I was 21, so I feel like it shouldn't count. Everybody needs a starter marriage. Avery's dad started sleeping with the receptionist at work when they were 8 months old, so I had lived lifetimes by the time I met Terry.
How old was Avery when you met Terry?
They were 12. I actually just went through one of the billions of things Terry did was fly little personal drones for photography and videography. And he had a drone flight log that was super dry, like wind conditions bad, image stabilization update working. And the one reference to a human or any emotion in the entire drone log was let Julia's child operate drone. Avery seemed excited.
Amazing. That's
Great.
an interesting age to be like in the dating scene for Terry and for Avery both.
Like everything else in our relationship, we handled that in a very non-traditional way. I was immediately super duper smitten. His previous longest relationship, he didn't date until he was in his late 20s. Just worked on himself, went to college again due to a financial aid snafu, is in a blood feud with one local college.
Nice.
As one is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I had been married previously. His previous longest relationship was 6 months long before me. And we were together for 7.25 years. And I feel like I get to say a quarter because we didn't get the 30 years other people did. It's like when toddlers really super want to be big and they're like, I'm 3.5.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, you are, bud.
You have to
Yeah.
count every minute.
Yeah. So he hadn't had a long-lasting relationship. And I think he was suspicious of someone immediately being smitten with him. Not in a love bombing way, just it hadn't happened before. So I was still dating some other people at the time, as was he, and uh, we were not monogamous then. We were not monogamous ever, which led to hilarious funerary stories. And I think after a few months, he said, "So am I sort of your boyfriend?" And I said, "You're maybe a 20% boyfriend at this point." I was clearly all in with him, but still sort of keeping my dance card full, just in case he didn't come around on. He had told me initially, it takes me a while to go from liking someone intellectually to liking them emotionally. And if 999 men tell you that, you should break up with them.
but not
But
Terry.
Terry said it and it was real. That's like someone telling you, like, my doctor said I can never get pregnant. Generally not true.
How did it go at the beginning with Avery and integrating the 20% boyfriend into Avery's
So
life?
I hadn't let Avery meet anyone else I was dating. I love Avery so much. They are so much like me. They were the first one to come and be with me after I found Terry after he died, and they were a champ. They were an utter nightmare as a tween and a teen, which is why Terry and I, despite being together for 7 years and being married for three and change, only lived together for a year. Um, I did not want to do a blended family with a difficult teen because my marriage was kind of a refuge from difficult teen doing difficult teen stuff. Uh, on multiple occasions during Avery's teenage years, I would be sobbing in my car and someone would come and tap on the window and say, "You okay?"
That's
Avery is the best now. They need a job, but they're just constantly like hugging me, making sure I'm
Aw.
okay, sending me memes at 2 in the morning when they know I'm awake.
How old is Avery now?
They are going to be 21 in April.
Okay.
Um,
what? Oh,
other
that gives
than
me
other,
hope.
they do grow up eventually. In my case, they do not find employment. But maybe someday.
You have a neurodivergent household and a relationship that you mentioned was non-monogamous. And we haven't
Yes.
had, I don't think we've had any guests with those two specific things on our podcast that's also been widowed. So we would love to hear more about some of the specifics of that and your experience. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, there is a big overlap in those communities. I don't want to say the Venn diagram is a circle. It looks more like that than two edamame pods. Trying to think what's not a circle. My personal theory, and I haven't done research on this, is that if you are neurodivergent, like I have AuDHD, as does Avery, which is autistic and ADHD all at once. I like to say
I
I have
got a
the
couple of
Scrabble
those
bag.
too.
Yeah.
I'm also one, which I didn't wasn't diagnosed till after Scott died, and now I know why I was frustrating for him sometimes.
After my diagnosis, I spent 3 months at home being terrified that anywhere I went, I would kind of weird it up, and then the rest of my life feeling empowered and like things made sense. When Terry told people about it, he said, "She's not into trains. However, she does have an unusually close relationship with Lego products," as is the way of our people.
Are your pronouns she, her? Or are you they,
Yeah,
them?
but
Or
just
she?
because I'm lazy, my best friend, who I'm currently living with, was talking to her cat and referred to me as Lazarus the cat's uncle, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like many Philly cats, he escaped, was presumed dead, came back with like half a missing ear.
Mm,
So now he's named Lazarus,
I love.
and I am his uncle.
Oh,
perfect.
that's perfect. Have you had this same experience? Like they they say, but you're not into trains, and they have the male idea of what autism is.
Trains or dinosaurs. It's always trains or dinosaurs.
And so that because of that, they're like, well, no, that must be fake. That's not true. And I'm like, well, I'm not a male and I didn't grow up male. So,
Also, not all males are into trains and dinosaurs either. I mean, some of them are into clocks, Mel, and
oh,
bowls and
yes.
angles.
Yep.
That's my dad.
My child is into do you know the safety placards, the diamonds, the fire diamond that tells you how something in a
Oh,
truck is going to kill
yes.
you?
Yes.
Avery is super into safety placards.
I love this.
Avery and Anita's dad would get along great,
They
I feel
would.
like.
Just sit there talking about their favorite placards.
Also, kind of related but not related is that my dad builds a lot of things out of old street signs. And so if you ever get
Whoa.
something from him, it is likely an old school crossing sign or an old stop sign or like all sorts of. So s- send them over.
Avery scavenged a bunch of those as well as 40 road cones that I had to get rid of when I was selling my last
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
Anita, Randall needs to find a safety placard and make something out of it, and then we can send it to Avery.
Those, I don't know how.
Make sure it's not actively in use. So like,
Yeah, that's
Oh, he wouldn't.
he doesn't have access to those. Like he had access to the street signs. He was the public works director, and the
Yeah.
signs have to keep they have to keep a certain amount of reflectivity, and so they have to change them out every so many years, and so they would just like get rid of them. So he just took them home with him, and that's why he has them, and they're legal, and he didn't steal stop signs. Don't steal stop signs. There you go. Okay.
I cannot say the same for my child.
Randy Randall would follow the rules because he worked for the city, so it would be legal.
Yes, he made the rules anyway. Okay.
No laws can hold my child. So,
They just need a job as the public works director someday.
neurodivergence, late diagnosis, non-monogamy. A lot of my friends were unsurprised. Over the years, I had had a number of people directly ask me, "Hey, are you on the autism spectrum?" My family is so heavily whapped by the autism stick that I forgot to tell Avery about their diagnosis, and they still give me hell about it. They were 8 or 9, and I made a joke about their classmate who could solve a Rubik's Cube in 3 seconds being on the spectrum. And they said, "What's that?" And it was bedtime. And I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, this is going to be a really long bedtime.
that's funny. Whoops.
I got my diagnosis because I work for a health system and can get almost any piece of healthcare for a $20 copay if it's in the system.
That's awesome.
It rules. And I told all of my friends, and most of them said, yeah, we knew.
Yeah.
And one of my oldest friends said, oh my God, dude, that's like a doctor telling you you're gay. You needed a professional for this insight. My theory with the non-monogamy and some neurodivergent people are poly, there's a higher incidence of being some variety of queer in there. If you don't necessarily interpret sort of like social rules and mores in the same way as general population, you're not going to do that with love and sex and romance either. Um, I know plenty of neurodivergent people who have been with the same spouse and just very happy in their little cave of board games for many years, but not doing things the standard way is also kind of highly represented in that community.
It makes sense. Like when you don't conform to the, kind of basic quote unquote rules of society, like you don't, that's not all you look for. You know what I'm saying? You live in the box.
I'm certainly not going to be viewed as normal. Like if I had to for a spy movie, I would be shot in the head within seconds. So yeah,
You're
I'm
not
not,
normal passing.
no, not in
No.
the slightest.
So,
And
Julia, I'm curious, like, did you guys have a discussion where it was like, I don't want to be monogamous, and he was like, I don't want to be monogamous either? Or was it just kind of something that developed into being that, and it didn't have to have like an actual discussion?
so my previous relationship hadn't been either. I was never super physically jealous. I did want someone who was my person who if I wound up in a like Turkish prison, they would work to bust me out or something.
Yeah, for
But
not being normal passing in your spy game. Yep.
exactly. They're like, why did we send her? That was terrible. I think we discussed and we were both for about 6 months into the relationship dating other people. And I just became increasingly like, I cannot stand these other people. I just want to be with Terry. Prior to that, I had had a series of long-term relationships and hadn't had to break up with people. And I wish there had been an index card or something because I could have handled that a little better. But over, I think we spent our first New Year's together, and the power went out. So it was cold, and we just sort of like spent it like huddled under a bunch of blankets with Prosecco, giggling. And a few weeks later, we went to Montreal together um, to surprise a friend for her birthday party. And we were parking the car, and Montreal is gorgeous. It, like chapels everywhere. The eye can see. Just sort of like a grimy Paris that you don't have to fly to. Um, and we parked, and Terry looked over at me and was like, I like you now. Something changed. I can feel it. Like cartoon bluebirds flew around my head. I think it was just assumed that that would be our status quo. And as things came up, we would discuss. I wished we had had more of a framework. There was friction at times. There were the occasional "my dude, what the hell" moment. Largely, it worked out okay. I'm gonna say not our primary source of conflict in the relationship.
Did you say the whole time that you were together, even up until he died, you were still non-monogamous?
Yes.
When people are having conversations about this topic, the people who are monogamous, I don't think even know how to frame their mind around how you can have your person but then other partners. So, would you be willing to explain that to those who have different kind of structure?
Yeah, I I separate, and I think most people do, being non-monogamous and being polyamorous. We were never polyamorous. I have friends who are. When it works out, it is fantastic. Um, there is there's multiple people to cook dinner and do laundry and ferry kids to things. That was not us. We again, we didn't even live together until the last year and change of his life. For me, at least, I didn't experience any physical jealousy, and it just seemed kind of dumb that of all of the strife you could go through over a lifetime with someone, of all of the unexpected, a tree falls on your house, you get fired, someone gets cancer, that having conflict over the very natural, like, I want to sleep with someone else was kind of an avoidable one. And I had done it in my last relationship. Um, Terry had not had a last relationship. Terry had not dated anyone for longer than 6 months. But I think if it's the kind of thing where you have to force yourself into it, it's not going to go super well for you. I also think if it's the kind of thing that someone tries to spring because they have a crush, it's not going to go super well for anyone. If you decide ex post facto, like that new coworker is real fine, maybe that's not the best time to open things up. But in both of our cases, physical jealousy wasn't a thing. Once I was with Terry, he he hung the moon for me. So I while I was able to act on it, I didn't a ton. Um, like I just wanted him. And the few times I did, I came home and he was like, "Hell yeah, would you like some stir fry?" So a bit, quite a bit different than polyamory, where you have multiple loving relationships with people. We were each other's person. Sex just was not exclusive to the relationship and then the marriage.
So, what happened to Terry?
So I've been thinking about how to put this, because everyone wants to know how your husband died or how your spouse died if they died before they were 80.
Right.
And in Terry's case, we will never super have a solid answer. Sort of the framing around it was, I went down to wake him up in the morning and he had died about 90 minutes earlier. Did CPR on him. I somehow got him to the ground with Hulk strength. Avery and I had taken a CPR class 2 weeks earlier. We were just for fun taking EMT training,
Why not?
as you do,
Yeah.
just to be good citizens. So we had just gotten CPR certified at the Ramada by the airport.
Which is where
Perfect.
everybody should learn CPR. The Ramada by the airport.
In a conference room.
Yep.
So I know that I gave the best CPR that I could, but it's not very effective when it's done in a community setting. It's not very effective, period, if you don't have an AED. So that's sort of the framing is, I went down to find him. He had died in his sleep. I could not revive him. I'm pretty sure if it had been anyone else in the world who I had found looking the way he did, like kind of cold, kind of blue, just my logical brain would have gone, oh, they're dead. But
Yeah.
your brain protects you. And when it's your spouse, you were not expecting that. I had to try.
I feel like it's almost appropriate though when you said that you're never gonna super know because I feel like that's so you and your life. Like you can't fit his death into a box either. You can't like click a check mark, you know? It's
Yeah.
like a big squiggle that's like very representative.
All I can say is that he was enormously complicated in life and enormously complicated in death.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you the various factors that I think went into his death. My best friend, who I'm staying with now, is a doctor and has been for many years. I have other doctor friends. All of them looked at his autopsy report. He was wearing a smartwatch at the time he died, and I'm in IT. So I took all of the data off of it and just sat there like I was in a 90s movie about hacking and analyzed it. And I'm very, very grateful that I have a great friend group and no one generally tried to stop me from doing that. I was able to glean that he was dead at the time I found him. I could not have revived him, and that he was super peaceful at the time he died. Um, he was just laying there with his hands on his chest, looking like he was taking a little nap, and there was no movement for a while before death, so he had the peaceful in your sleep death that people say they want to have, just way earlier than he would have liked to, or I would have liked him to.
How old was he?
He was 40. He was a couple
Ah,
months away from 41. Um,
wow.
and there were a bunch of factors that could have gone into it. For about 6 months before, he was drinking kind of heavily, and he hadn't drank at all until he was 28. Um, Sort of family history of addiction, and wasn't a big drinker after that. We'd go out to dinner with friends and we'd be the only people not having a glass of wine with dinner. I think sort of the lead up to the last election and also the way his social relationships changed over COVID kind of did a number on him. He wasn't getting the extrovert uh, enrichment in his enclosure that he needed.
That was the perfect way of saying that. It was perfect. Yeah.
That's also not my thing. The enrichment in your enclosure is very big in neurodivergent communities. We cannot understand, for the love of God, drink a glass of water, but if you frame it in hamster terms, sure. The drinking a lot was kind of a new thing, and I'd had a few talks with him, like, dude, I'm finding empties in the trash. Have you considered addressing this? And multiple friends afterward said, my dude, did you ever successfully convince Terry to do a thing he didn't want to do? And I thought about it, and I did one time, and that was to stop doing Duolingo lessons while driving.
Because
Muy
you gotta
bien.
Liz, I understand the need for multitasking with a different brain, but also way to go for the safety on that one.
That is psychotic. That is not pro-social behavior, no matter how good your streak is. The owl could wait, but that's the one thing over 7.25 years that I successfully convinced Terry to do or not do.
What language was he learning?
So initially Spanish, we took a 3-year anniversary trip to Paris, so he did
Okay.
about 6 months of
I
French.
wanted it to be like
Nice.
Uzbekistani or something
Or check something.
crazy. Or Klingon. They have Klingon.
Oh, that's
He
right.
was very practical, so I think he wanted a practical language, and I
Okay.
believe picked it based on Spanish being a very popular second language.
Yeah, that makes
It was
sense.
it was no passion for it whatsoever. It was, I think there is utility in this.
Yeah. Kind of task oriented too. Like,
We also both occasionally did recreational drugs. Adults do that. And I wanted to say this on the show because this is a thing that happens in homes all over America. And I think there's a lot of people whose loved one was autopsied and had drugs in their system and is dying of guilt and shame about it. And I haven't heard anyone speak about it, except in the context of my spouse was a secret addict and shooting up in their car, and I didn't know about it.
We've definitely had some people who it's a surprise. You know what I'm saying? Like they've died of like a fentanyl overdose and they didn't
Yeah.
know. And maybe they haven't been on the podcast, but I definitely know. But it's kind of a different kind of an animal when it's like, yeah, we were doing this. Like we knew this was a thing. It wasn't a secret. It
Yeah.
wasn't, you know,
Yeah,
it
and
was normal
And
for
people
us.
don't, yeah, like you said, people can give themselves a shame from it and guilt, but that's why they don't talk about it with us. So either that prevents them from being on, or they want to kind of cover it differently.
I think it's they don't want their social circle or their family or their employer to know. There's guilt, there's shame. But a lot of dead people wind up with something or other on their toxicology screen, and my loved one was one of them. And I don't think it's what killed him. It was a whisper of drugs, like the amount you would get, like if you got change for a 20 at the supermarket, that much would be on your bills. But it was on there. And there's this James Baldwin quote about art that I like that James Baldwin says it better because genius, but basically the main point of art is to, by showing people your suffering, to make them feel a little less alone, and by them seeing it and feeling a little less alone, that alleviates a little bit from you. So fellow sketchy toxicology scan widows, we're out there. I see you. You don't need to cower in shame. I don't think that's what killed him. There were a lot of things. There was stuff that came up after he died that I had no idea about. Um, I had had COVID 6 weeks earlier, and he had the exact same symptoms and did not pop positive. And he was super proud of never having had COVID, and would get angry when I suggested, mock angry, when I suggested, hey, we're both sneezing and coughing and having a fever in the same way. You think this might be it, brah? Um, and that can cause residual heart issues. He was the exact demographic for that. He had recently gone off of a GLP-1 drug and gained some weight, and had started snoring. So in addition to the other stuff I found in the smartwatch, he probably had a whisper of sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his friends and I talked afterwards, and I found out from his best friend that he had allergies and was just casually taking Sudafed every day for them. And I just smacked my forehead. And we all want to take Sudafed every day. Having sinuses that clear is amazing. Man
Oh,
was not meant to have that.
I would love clear sinuses daily. That's my
It's
dream.
so good, it feels like you are in the Alps, but we don't get to have that. It's bad for your body. So I found that out. I found I'm on ADD meds, so I can be employed. I found out that some of mine were missing, some of the ones I wasn't taking. So there were a series of, oh, bud, what were you doing? Surprises. A non-monogamy surprise was exactly how much he had spent the previous month on OnlyFans content. And thank God we were non-monogamous. If we were a traditional relationship, I would have been destroyed. I was sad to find it because it just sort of indicated compulsive behavior. But I briefly thought, should I send these women $20 for like making my husband happy in his last bit of time on this planet?
Can you imagine getting that message?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I would be like, I don't know how to take this. Thanks for the
Like,
$20. But
thanks.
like, you're like,
Sex work is work, but that's too weird even for me.
I have a question about finding that out and being in a non-monogamous relationship, was it something that you expected to have really full and transparent communication about? And so it still feels like a little painful because like it had been hidden from you? Or was that not an expectation either? Like you were going to do what you guys were going to do and you didn't talk about it and you didn't need to?
I think it was sadness that he didn't feel he could open up to me about it because I mentioned that he was on a GLP-1 drug and he went off of it cold turkey a few months before he died. There are trials now with using those for addiction. If you go on Ozempic or Wegovy, it kind of tamps down addictive behavior. And he did not have a great experience on his and went off of it cold turkey without consulting a doctor. Um, he was the smartest man that many people met, but just would do a god awful stupid thing occasionally. And I started noticing a lot of compulsive behavior after that.
Mm.
And there was a lot of sort of like drinking in his basement podcast studio alone. And I think
We haven't even
that's,
gotten to that part yet.
yeah, I think that's when a lot of the sort of compulsive online sexual content stuff was happening. And it wasn't a betrayal so much as a sadness that he might have been doing something that he didn't feel fully in control of. He couldn't tell me about it. It was a sadness for him, a sadness that I don't know, a content creator got that time with him instead of me. Um, it was like so many things involving his death. It was just oh my God, it's so complicated and so many gray areas to be a human and to love another human. Oddly enough, I have a friend who I met when our children were babies who moved away and I reconnected with a few years ago, um, who had a very similar thing happen to her. She was polyamorous and it happened to her boyfriend. So, as we like to say, it was very traumatic, but you also had a husband waiting at home. I don't think it diminishes the loss, but it kind of does. Um, I did not have emergency backup husband.
Just add water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I,
Or
I,
or
I,
monster. Is it monster?
Monster. South
yeah.
Korean monster.
Yeah.
Yellow.
As
Someday I will taste that yellow nectar again.
and as will Terry.
Yeah, he's drinking a yellow monster in wherever he may be right now.
What's helped you to process some of these complex feelings in your widowhood journey?
Um, I am so fortunate to have the friend circle that I do. One of the things that was important to Terry was sort of, I think he called it interweaving our lives together. After the Amish, speaking of Pennsylvania Dutch, marry, from what I understand, and I am very non-Amish, as you can tell by the everything, their honeymoon is visiting
Totality.
other family members, just, presumably getting in your buggy and just visiting, just showing off your new coupledom. And we kind of did that for a few years. We took a bunch of road trips just to meet each other's friends. Uh, just flew all over the country, had people over, and so many of his friends became my friends, and my friends became his friends. And I had this gigantic circle of people around me. Our wedding vows focused heavily on friendship. Um, we touched on the fact that we loved each other, and that's why we were doing this. But it also they focused heavily on we are friends. We are here to celebrate with our friends, and to strengthen our friend group with this marriage. And for weeks and weeks after he died, I left the front door unlocked from the time I got up until midnight, and people just came and went all day, every day. Um, and I started writing in a journal the day he died, which is weird because no one would let me be alone. So I had to have done it in the bathroom, which is the only time I was allowed to be alone because I was in shock and people were super worried about me. Um, and the first journal entry, it is just the date he died and then I am in hell. And I look at that and like I still feel it.
Yeah.
Um,
You guys don't see her body language, but I think we all like hand to the chest, kind of like caving in on yourself. Like you feel it now too, that
yeah. Yeah, the you thought the pain scale was 1 to 10, but it turns out there's 1,000, and that's what you're feeling right after it happens. And over the next few days and weeks, the journal entries were, I am in hell, but also a miracle is happening because all of these people, I could not care for myself. I could not care for myself at all. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't successfully get myself to bed. I would stand up and just be standing there saying, I'm really tired, and someone would have to point me in the right direction. And adults came and tucked me in, and I didn't eat for a week. A friend's kids sent up a half full bag of Trader Joe's chocolate covered almonds, which felt really sweet because they clearly loved those almonds, but were willing to relinquish them for their mom's widowed friend. A friend of mine who just, I can't picture her without like a little halo in back of her, organized that in 2 weeks. It was like holding a wedding for 400 in 2 weeks. She has two kids under 5 and a fairly high powered job where I think she has to like yell at people. Um, she organized that. He was an Eagle Scout. Get yourself an Eagle Scout. They're great husbands. All of the Eagle Scouts put in their labor for free. The only thing I had to pay for at the memorial was food, and I think they cut us a deal too because Terry knew everyone. And I think one of the people at the caterers, he had helped them get their bird identification badge or something along those lines. So yeah, it is friends now. It has always been friends, and the online widow community is amazing.
yeah.
It was 3 months in when I went to Neurodivergent Widow Group, which the founder of it had just founded a month before. So I got extraordinarily lucky because it hadn't existed until then. And I love that group so much. Cannot recommend it enough. If you two are neurospicy and deeply unlucky, you can find it through Soaring Spirits. That was my first one. And then Facebook starts serving you up widow content, as I'm
Hmm.
sure both of you got.
Still.
Yeah, and some of it is just absolutely horrific, like AI generated images of like a husband grilling things on a cloud.
I find that very helpful.
I feel like that's a gas station t-shirt needs to be made.
Yes, exactly. One of those incredibly specific t-shirts. And I kind of like the Widow Wives group resonated with me a lot. Option B resonated with me a lot. The ones this I don't want to make everything a neurodivergent thing, but for me, I don't want to do the grief equivalent of booking a vacation package where they tell you where you're going to go on the tour group and have everything selected for you. I want to pick and choose and have it take the form that I want. Um, and sort of sifting through different widow groups and seeing what resonated with me and what didn't, and talking to various widows and seeing what worked was enormously helpful. As was reading a bunch of grief books and Terry and I like to say that we both had complicated relationships with our mothers, and a lot of our adult lives were running as far away from being our moms as we could be. Um, and I'm running as far away from the grief books I hate as I can. I'm
The
I'm
the
not
bad ones
going
are
to name
bad.
names.
The good ones are good and the bad ones are bad.
I do agree that in grief you have to be gentle with yourself. There are certain grief books and grief groups that seem to be like it's okay to stare into the sun of grief and not kick your own ass a little bit. Um, and after the initial shock wears off, any sort of, we don't move on from it. We never do. You always miss your person. You always have grief. It hurts. It kind of mutates, takes other forms, like a Pokemon or something. Um, but as you like any any of my evolution in grief has been by sort of kicking my own butt a little bit, by trying a little harder than I wanted to that day. And I think there are some grief groups where I don't want to say they promote wallowing in it, but the model I like to take is integrating it into your life, that I know for a fact I will be doing some sobbing today, probably in the car. Great sobbing location.
You've had practice. Avery helped with that.
Oh boy. We had an argument in the car in the winter once, and all the windows fogged up and it iced onto there. And I wanted to scrape it off and save the argument. Like, I know I'm going to sob today. I'm also doing this. I'm going to do some writing. I'm caring for my best friend who I'm living with right now.
I think that just a lot of the through line of your whole story is it's just complicated. It's just like when you were talking about wallowing in it versus being authentic to it. It's like there is no clear-cut line, and you kind of have to go back and forth between being true to your feelings and not trying to talk yourself out of feeling sad, but then also trying to talk yourself out of being sad. Like I got to do something. I got to get up. I got to walk. I got to do, I can't just be where I am now, but I also have to honor where I am now. It's like none of it is straightforward. It's all a big squiggly line.
Yeah.
And like your story is very squiggly altogether
I,
throughout the whole
I,
thing.
I have found a lot of satisfaction and kind of, I don't want to say healing, but I'm going to say healing and just sort of mixing it together and grieving out in the open and incorporating my grief into things I do.
Yeah.
Um,
That's in a way honoring it though, is not just internalizing it and letting it
yeah,
be out in the open.
I don't want the only place I grieve to be in the car. Like, I took a 2-month road trip this summer with his urn to visit his friends and record their stories about him on a little field recorder. So I lived out of motels and on friends' floors on a mattress for 2 months, and I sprinkled his ashes in national parks he hadn't gotten to go to.
That's
And it
awesome.
was a fantastic experience. It was great. I got to drive around in the desert and get lost on a gravel road and also kind of honor him in that way. I have a bunch of pictures of me like holding up an urn for the camera over some vista. Like, I did that. I started a widow blog. Um,
You have to. It's required.
it is the law. Um,
The law of the widow.
he was an actuary, and I did a giant elaborate prank to voice my displeasure at his professional organization for not giving him an honorary actuarial award.
Also, how ironic is that like he probably broke the actuarial table because he died when he was 40 and he wasn't supposed to.
He was not that kind of actuary,
Oh,
as he would
dang
tell
it.
me anytime I would
That's the only kind of actuary I know.
anytime I would fret to him, am I going to die? He would say, not that kind of actuary, and no, you are not going to die.
That's funny.
But
Um,
he was a few months away from getting his final actuarial credential, and a bunch of
oh,
people asked, will you give him an honorary one? And they said no. So I the final credential was Fellow of the Casualty Actuary Society. So I invented an award called Fellow of the Corpse Actuarial Society and made a website for it. And Avery and I flew to their annual meeting where I was accepting the volunteer award they gave him instead of the one we asked for. And we carpet bombed that town with like magnets with QR codes and business cards pointing to my mock actuarial award website. So there's been a lot of like weird creating things that incorporate Terry and how weird and awesome he was and my grief, this compulsion to make. And I felt guilty about it because he would encourage me to do so in life and I didn't. And now I'm thinking the way I frame it is it's sort of like one last thing that he gave me was the ability to put weird stuff into the world.
So, Julia, I think that your episode's going to be really helpful for people because we've hit on a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't feel seen in. And so I think that's going to be really fantastic. So thank you for sharing your story. And I'm kind of excited to see what other things you create and like the new life that comes out of all of this, because it's been kind of exciting and fun just to learn about you. And I think it's going to be out of the box, your widowhood journey too. So keep it up in the Widow Wives Club so we can follow along with your journey. I know everybody hates that word, but
I don't hate it. I don't have another word for it.
I know.
It's a journey. That's what a journey is.
I've hit this thesaurus real hard, and journey is kind of what we got right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Until Gen Z invents something better, we gotta use it.
Okay, let's do that. We have to ask you, Julia, though, as we finish up, the most important question. That's, what is your favorite cheese?
Someone else stole my favorite cheese in another episode. I forget which guest it was, but they mentioned Toast, which is this fudge-like Scandinavian cheese. So I picked a backup cheese.
Okay.
I'm not
You
going
can
to
have the same favorite cheese. It's not like one per widow.
No, I'm not wearing the same cheese dress as another girl to prom.
Okay.
There is a cheese from Slavic nations called Chechel, and it's, imagine if you got a string cheese, braided it up real tight, and then smoked it for 10 years.
That seems excessive.
What?
They call it beer's best friend. It's very smoky. It's very salty. I call it a human sausage, and it's good stuff. If you can get yourself a Chechel, you may spike your blood pressure, but you'll have a good time.
We'll put it on the list.
Yeah.
You got to find us one of those.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Julia. It's been really interesting and fun to get to know you. We hope our audience has enjoyed hearing from you as well. If you'd like to keep the podcast going, if you'll check out our Patreon, it's how we keep things running around here. Patreon.com/WWDN.
Oh, and now my turn. and tacos, cheese. What did you call?
Schnitzel.
Schnitzel.
Chechel.
Chechel.
Chechil, but like everything else in that region, I think each country calls it their own thing.
All right. If you'd like to buy some Chechel or tacos or cheese or not, maybe just something else, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And check us out on YouTube. It helps if you subscribe, even if you don't listen there.
Yeah.
Still helps us. And a nice rating and review is also super helpful. And until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
This is the point at which I say, I'm Julia.
Yes, good job. We are two young widows and one squiggly, odd AuDHD widow, all trying to find our way and figure out widow.
We
do.
Now.
Mel, can you please tell me how you feel about therapy?
I am so grateful for therapy. I do therapy every single week.
Do you think it's a great tool in the widow's toolbox?
I sure do. I think it's a great tool in anybody's toolbox. And I am so glad that I have stuck with it because as time goes on, there are more things that I am able to learn about myself. That goes for anything from healing from the death of my husband to childhood things to trying to get outside and be social or trying to address my own certain personality. So yeah, it's really been helpful for me.
We have so many people in the Widow Wives Club who have started using BetterHelp and have amazing reviews. It takes away so many of the barriers to getting great therapy.
I know one of the things that's hard for people, and we get this question a lot, is I need a therapist that does XYZ. Who is a therapist that is going to be widow friendly? And I know that is so hard to find. When I did therapy that was not on this online platform, it was hard. And it's kind of trial and error, kind of like a new medication, honestly, like a new antidepressant. And the way that BetterHelp is set up is it's easy to find somebody that has your specific needs as part of their expertise. And you know what? If you get into a couple sessions with that person and it's not a good fit, it's so easy to change. You can ask some of our friends in the Widow Wives Club. They've changed therapists and gotten one that has been a better fit for them. Well, a lot of them are lucky with who they get first time. I am so grateful for mine. I love her so much, and it's literally changed my life for the better.
This is amazing. So if you guys are wanting to add therapy to your toolbox or need a change in who you're seeing right now, consider checking out BetterHelp. They're one of our sponsors. If you go to trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month of therapy if you sign up with BetterHelp. And let me tell you, the day that I was in the hospital with my dad when he was dying, I was able to instant message with my therapist, and she checked on me all throughout the week. And I was not available for video sessions for a lot of those times because there were things we were dealing with, like mortuary stuff, and I was still able to be in contact with her. So they're very, very responsive, caring. It's such a great platform, and I recommend it to anybody who is looking for therapy.
Once again, it's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
And that's for 10% off your first month of online therapy.
You don't even have to wear pants, Mel.
I know this.
First-hand experience.
You can even wear a onesie.
Or a twosie.
Ooh, scary. All right, bye!